as we are tracking what will eventually become Hurricane Milton, expected in a matter of days to impact the Gulf Coast of Florida. You heard from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis just about 30 minutes ago, and right now I do want to bring in Florida's Attorney General Ashley Moody to talk a little bit more about the preparations here. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this morning, as I know you do have a very busy time ahead of you.
Sure. Yes. Great to be with you. As you know, the Tampa Bay area within Florida is in the direct middle of the warning cone. And everyone here is pulling together in preparation as we are still reeling and feeling the aftermath of Hurricane Helene.
I want to start from the beginning here, because yesterday we really saw everything kind of start to develop there with Milton. So just tell me, as you just experienced Hurricane Helene and the powerful storm there, as well as the aftermath, what goes through your mind when you do hear that now you're going to be dealing with another major storm that's striking the Gulf Coast of Florida?
Well, if you'll remember with Hurricane Helene, it hit the Big Bend area of Florida directly. That's right where the state starts curving. And Tampa Bay, which is a very large urban population, and includes Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, Pasco County, it kind of got that outskirts, but it still experienced significant storm surge. We are still recovering from that. As you know, the Tampa Bay area is where we experience the most loss of life, which is our biggest concern when storms like this hit. And as you know, property was very much affected, and we still have a lot of debris and cleanup material, appliances, couches, I can go on and on, that were removed from homes and are waiting to be removed. And so to hear that you're now going to be predicted to be in the direct path of what will be a major hurricane, significant winds, significant storm surge, is incredibly concerning. And so, you know, as we're dealing in the aftermath of Helene, we are now all hands on deck, pushing forward to prepare for Milton. And, you know, as Florida is used to these natural disasters, we have a great teams in place from the state level, Governor DeSantis, on down to our county level Emergency Operations Center. And I will just compliment both Pinellas and Hillsborough, who did a great job. But now that we're back in that cone, we're asking residents to please heed evacuation warnings. That's our #1 message. There were folks that didn't heed those warnings and wish that they had during Hurricane Helene. And so our #1 message right now, pay attention to your evacuation zone. If you are asked to leave, please do so. You don't have to go hundreds of miles away. Just get inland, get to higher ground. And that is our #1 message right now.
And does it make it even more important to evacuate if you are under that evacuation order, considering some of those areas were just so heavily impacted? I know I saw some of the photos coming in out of Clearwater, Florida, for instance, where the roads were flooded and there was that damage left behind. So does that make it even more important than ever to evacuate those areas that have already been hit?
It's incredibly important. The ground is saturated. As that storm surge comes in, we have just dealt with that. It's saturated. That presents very real challenges to being able to absorb that water. And so, you know, again, and I know there are so many people. This is my home county, you know, born and raised within this county in Florida. We have so many friends that are still reeling from the affects of Hurricane Helene. And I do think, because we just experienced this, I spoke with the mayor here in Tampa, who said, we think Helene is going to help us get through to folks in terms of evacuation for Milton, because even those that chose to stay within those very low-lying areas subject to storm surge, they saw what can happen. And it's not just during the storm where those risks are real. It's in the immediate aftermath when it's hard to get communications to you. In many areas, we were 99% down for electricity. You don't have cell service, you don't have internet. Really what becomes valuable in those times is a handheld radio with a couple batteries so you can listen to AM radio, which is the entry point for our emergency alert system, for our National Weather Service, and getting information into communities. You know, low tech is sometimes very important in these natural disasters. I can tell you were those that had gone to electric locks in their homes, and after the storm passed and people were able to get back to their homes, they couldn't get in because they had gone to electric locks and the electricity was out. So the old school keys were much more useful. So again, pay attention to warnings, heed evacuation routes, and make sure if you're asked to leave an evacuation zone that you do so.
And I know you just mentioned this, but I did want to kind of get your final take here. What sort of information do you want to get across to those people who are watching who maybe do say, look, we live in Florida, we see storm after storm come on through, no big deal. Again, you touched on this, but what information, what message do you want to get across to them right now so that they know, hey, if you're in an evacuation zone, evacuate?
You know, we saw during some of these natural disasters with the storm surge and some of the areas on the outskirts, water was up to almost over their heads. And I visited these places that took a direct hit. Those homes are not even there anymore. They are gone. So if you're thinking you're going to stay in your home in an evacuation zone and you've got a direct hit coming, it's not about whether you can wade through water to get out. It's not about whether you'll have the opportunity to get to higher ground or someone might be able to come rescue you. During that storm, law enforcement officers cannot get to you. And in many of these areas that take direct hits and that storm surge comes up, those homes are gone. They are washed away. So loss of life is predictable where it will happen. We just need people to work with us and leave. I've heard people say it before. If you choose to stay where there is a direct hit, make sure you write your name on your arm so that we know who you are. You've got to heed these evacuation warnings.
And we do know that first responders' lives are also put at danger when they are going out to rescue people. So other people should keep that in mind as well. Ashley Moody there, Florida Attorney General, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. We appreciate it.
Great to be with you. Thank you so much for your attention on this incredibly critical matter.
Of course.